Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Book Return, an Elven Building Library podcast. I'm Zach, the information manager.
I am Brittany, the library director.
And I'm Chloe, one of the clerks.
What's up, you goofs? It's been a while.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Well, what has everybody been up to the last 6 months?
We laugh because it's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. We just finished up Fair Week, which was
that's cool.
fun.
Good.
My daughter took her horse to fair for the first time.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, had a good time and was
Good.
exhausted afterward, but
Yeah.
Ultimately it was a good experience.
It's
And
exhausting thinking about.
it is.
But
It is.
if you love horses, I bet that's more fun.
Yeah, and 4-H is a fantastic program for kids. And
Yeah.
Did they like it?
did my kids like it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Cammy said to me the other day that she was very sad that fair is over.
Aw. Oh, that's a good
So
thing.
cute.
Yeah. Yep.
Success.
Yeah.
What about you, Chloe? You almost left after the 90s episode because you said you couldn't, just couldn't get behind it.
I just didn't have anything to add.
You added
I had
so
movies.
much.
I had movies.
Yeah.
My family just got through fireworks season. Less
Oh,
fun
yes.
than Fair Week. I despise fireworks.
Same.
Yeah, but my mom
Awful.
sells them and is a little bit, not even a little bit, she is a pyro.
I didn't know that.
It's scary.
Oh.
She goes from like the sweet elementary school librarian to like she's got lighters and fireworks everywhere.
goodness.
And I'm like, I have to go inside. I can't be out here. It's so scary, but she's very safe. I'm just very paranoid.
She's like Pyro from Running Man.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm the only one that saw Running Man, the Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's been many, many moons.
So it's not good, but it's based on a Stephen King short story.
interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's right.
A lot of one-liners, a lot of good Arnold zingers. Yeah,
He does those well.
He does. What's your favorite Arnold zinger? Fine. Brittany?
I don't know.
I don't know. Would it be cliche if I said the one from Terminator?
Which one was that?
Well, I'll be back, of course.
That's fair. Not chill out.
No.
That's the
from
Mr. Freeze.
From Batman.
What does he say in Jingle All the Way? That's the only thing I've seen him in.
They can't be true.
I don't think
My
I've seen
favorite
him.
Arnold movie when I was a kid was Last Action Hero.
I loved Last Action
loved
Hero.
Last Action
Me too.
Hero. And there was a funny little like bit in that movie where Arnold is a movie character that comes to the real world. And he makes friends with this boy in the real world. And in the real world they go to the video store and there's the film cutout for Terminator and it's Sylvester Stallone. Oh my god, playing the
so
Terminator
meta.
instead of Arnold. It's very funny.
That makes sense to me if
Yeah.
there's no Arnold.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
clever.
It
Because like he
was.
was the
Hilarious.
biggest movie star.
It
at the
was,
time.
yeah. It was really
insane.
Yeah.
I still have a Last Action Hero action figure that I have
cool.
displayed on my bookshelf.
Yeah.
It was my favorite toy.
Aw.
It's not in
Yeah.
good shape, and he's got a red torn shirt.
Yep.
Like his nose is gone from 20, 30 years of friction.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Classic.
Great movie.
That was a classic.
I like to stick around from Predator when he throws a knife in a man's chest. Don't even know if he was a bad guy. There's a lot of collateral damage
Oh no.
from the guerrilla warfare.
Oh jeez.
But I wouldn't consider that a guilty pleasure. Predator.
No.
I feel like it's like a classic.
Yeah.
A lot of people love it.
Do you like that transition?
I did.
It was good.
'Cause, well, what are we talking about today?
Guilt-free reads.
Guilt-free
Yeah.
reads.
Like, I feel like we can spread it out and talk about guilt-free watches too.
Sure.
Whatever.
Why not?
What things are with this climate today? We need to stop judging people.
Yeah, seriously.
Start just doing what we like, as long as
Sure.
it doesn't hurt anybody else.
That's the
Right.
key thing.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
agree. So, what would you describe as a guilt-free read? Is it different from a guilty pleasure?
Yes, I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Like subtly different.
Yeah.
But how would you differentiate?
Guilt-free would be something that you just sit down and enjoy without worrying about it. Guilty pleasure, I feel like that's something that you do when you know you should be doing something else.
Fair.
Like the dishes need done, but you're not going to do them. You're going to
Yeah.
sit and
Yeah.
read this book instead. That's how I would differentiate
Okay.
Yeah.
the two.
I can- yeah, and
because I am unable to guilty pleasure. It's just the
no.
way I was raised. I cannot do it. So
Tragic.
Yeah.
So you just have to. Do you just try to shift your mentality and try to be more open and guilt-free, or do you just avoid certain material?
No, I feel like it's like a product of my upbringing that if it's like the middle of the day, I physically cannot like just sit down on the couch and do something when I know there are
Man.
other things that need to be done.
I wish I was that way. Except the opposite, which is what I am.
Which is why I listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Smart.
Makes sense.
Smart.
So
I want to get into those. Which we'll get into those next week. We'll tell you what that's
Yeah.
about.
oh yeah.
But I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I thought I always kind of associated guilty pleasures with things that carried like a societal judgment.
Sure. That, yep.
Stuff. Like you,
Yep.
if you wouldn't want to read it on a public transit,
Which is why e-readers are so nice.
so good,
Kind of perfect for that.
so good. I feel like, and then guilt free is just kind of. Maybe it's not like intellectually challenging, but you enjoy
There's
it.
not like a
getting
stigma
something
or
out of it.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, I feel like I almost get like more joy and glee out of reading something that I know other people are going to be like, "What are
Yes.
you reading?"
Yeah, sure.
Definitely.
I'm like, "Ha,
Yeah.
Foxhole
I-
Court.
What? Foxhole Court, yeah. That's exactly.
Right.
This new sequel just came out. It was excellent.
That's so good.
And the first like third of the book was the last third of the previous book from a different perspective. So there was new information, but also dialogue directly carried over, and I loved it.
So
That's
it's like
interesting.
Midnight Sun.
Yeah, it's kind of. Yeah.
I'm
It was
seeing a
really
trend.
good. I love it so much, and there's gonna be another one, a fifth one coming out. So
How long in between those books? Like,
negative time, like it.
I mean, like
Between
publishing.
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 Yeah.
That's fair. I'm not sure when the last one came out. I can look it up.
Okay.
Because this one just came out this year.
Okay. Is this the first one that released while you were a fan of the series?
I believe
Oh,
yes.
That's a good question.
Because I don't think I had to wait at all.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Let me check out Fantastic Fiction, which is a wonderful website.
Tis.
I just saw a very clickbaity and false headline that was George R.R. Martin being like, "Big news is coming."
Sure.
And then the article's like, "Don't get your hopes up when there's big news coming. I'll be the first to tell you. But
Yeah.
I can't tell you when or if.
Or if.
But-
Probably not.
If you say one more time that I'm going to die before it comes out, I'm going to take to the forums again." It's like, there's a reason people are saying that, George.
Yeah. You made people wait so long.
Yeah.
The first two came out in 2013, both of them, which is always a good sign. And then the third one was 2014. So 10
Okay,
years.
so it's been a
decade.
while.
It
Yeah.
has been.
Huh.
Jeez.
Interesting.
Well worth the wait. I think I can tell that her writing has grown. Like, definitely. She still was like feeding into the fan fiction kind of aspect of it that
Okay.
people love, but there was more. It was more well thought out. Maybe she just has a better editor.
What
too.
has she been doing for the last 10 years?
I have no idea.
I wonder if
She hasn't
she
published
wrote
anything.
other stuff under a different name.
She
I
could have,
wonder.
because Nora Sakovic or Sakovic, or however you say it, is a pen name. So I don't
Okay.
know.
So maybe under the government name, she's
be.
releasing some stuff.
She's
Yeah.
super active on Twitter and the like
Okay.
fandom community, not Twitter, Tumblr, and like the fandom for those books.
Interesting.
Is interesting. Was she one of the ones like who's the 50 Shades?
E.L.
James.
She started off as like a
Yeah.
fanfic writer. Did she?
I
As
don't
well?
know for sure, but
Okay.
I imagine probably.
Sure.
It like they feel like fan fiction for something, but I don't know what.
So why? How would you? Okay, and I know I'm the one that assigned you this book, but how would you lump it into guilty pleasure
Or guilt-free.
Guilt free.
I think I would say it's more of a guilt. I mean, I don't feel guilty at all anymore, but like when I started liking those books, definitely felt guilty because I was like, there's like harmful stuff in these books, and I definitely wouldn't recommend them to everyone. Like, you should look at the content warnings and stuff, and even the author says that, like, make sure they're safe books for you. But I get a lot of enjoyment out of them and the characters and like the community. Like, I love the fan fiction community and the fandom around the books, so I don't feel any guilt anymore.
Interesting. I read like the first third, and
Of one of them.
the first one. Literally nothing happened. It's just like the guy was hanging out with his coach. Like, this should have had a boredom warning.
It is slow, and then oh my gosh, everything is happening.
It's amazing.
But I love that. Like, it's just so much fan fiction is like that. Like, it's just like domestic or just like characters getting to know each other.
Yeah,
and I like that
can get
being
behind.
on
I like
the
that.
page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that too. It's not just established and you have to get behind it.
Yeah, I
It's
want to
earned.
learn who people are as like the main character does.
Yeah. I feel like I probably struggled with it because I was listening to an audiobook version on YouTube that was probably, it sounded AI generated
Ugh.
before AI.
That's
Oh, that's
concerning.
terrible.
It was just really like monotone.
I was doing that to fall asleep for a while.
Makes sense. It's a good,
I do
voice
that
for
too.
it. It's a good voice for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense.
Very,
Good.
very guilty, but also guilt-free.
Fair. I feel like the biggest, and I kind of struggle to come up with guilt reads because I don't know. Like I kind of go like full body, full brain into nonfiction if I get hyper fixated on one topic, or if I'm getting into like fantasy, I want to read like the best of fantasy, and then I go through like a 3-year dry spell
Yeah.
because the children.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I feel the most guilt about with reading is when I stop. And like
That's fair.
yeah.
I've been in like a reading slump for like 3 weeks now and haven't been able to finish a book, and I
feel
feel
so bad.
horribly
Yeah.
bad about it. But like we've been busy, and I have started a couple of books, and I had a couple of DNFs in a row, and that
Yeah.
kind of bummed me out. So
It's crazy how
Yeah.
much that does affect you.
It does.
Like my brain was working so much better when I was consistently reading
Yeah.
through
Sure.
stuff.
yeah,
And then when you like I just DNF'd a book too and I almost never do that. And
Yeah.
then like starting the next one I was like nervous.
it took me a long time to be okay with DNFing
Yeah.
a book because I felt guilty about that.
Same. I was like, I'm
That's
not giving him a fair
big.
chance.
And then
no.
but I'm like, now I'm old enough and my time is like stretched thin enough
Yes.
where I don't have time to devote to
Yeah.
something
Fair.
that I'm not
Your
enjoying.
time is important.
Yeah, it's the most valuable commodity
Yeah.
out there.
And
Yeah.
that doesn't like it's not a hard and fast value judgment on the book either. Like you can just accept that it's not for you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
I need to get better about finishing stuff because, like,
Oh, you have the opposite problem.
I do.
You start more books
Yeah.
than anyone I know.
For the first page of every book that's ever existed in this library currently.
That might be true. It's not, but
It's definitely not.
but a
But
higher percentage than me. And I've read a lot of the books here.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I would say in the YA
Yeah.
room, there's a lot of really good stuff in there.
Oh yeah.
So I think that
Yeah.
speaks to our catalog. There's we have some good stuff.
Definitely.
The stuff when I was in my early to mid 20s, my biggest guilty read were very insidious and like inflammatory political reads, not biographies, but like I won't say anything specific, but just internally I'm the actually guy that I
Shocking.
can't actually do that in public. So when
Yeah.
I'm reading, I like having an argument with the page.
So you like to read books that you don't agree with the opinion, or you did?
Did not agree.
Okay.
And that's like all of the content that I consumed, like radio and book wise.
I feel like I'd be so bummed.
Me too.
I
I
was a
would be
nightmare to be
angry
around.
all the time.
I was.
Like my blood pressure would be through the roof, and I would just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Made me feel
be
so
a
alive.
miserable person.
Ugh. I would like, and then it turned out I had ADHD, and that was like my ADHD drug. Was getting
Yeah.
my adrenaline running. Just listening to political pundits yelling at other people.
Gosh.
But yeah, I can't think of any other like guilty pleasure.
I feel like I just love a lot of books that are like guilty pleasures. Like I feel like just generally considered them like Twilight. Like we've been over that, but there's so many like that. Divergent.
Yeah.
It's just terrible.
They're very polarizing.
Yes.
And the people that don't like those types of books are a lot louder,
That's true.
which
Yeah.
makes it seem like it's a guilty pleasure,
Yeah.
even if it may not necessarily
That's
be
a good
that way.
point.
Yeah, that is a good point.
The people that just like it don't have a lot to say.
Right. And the naysayers are very loud in their
Yes.
judgment. So,
Hanging out on the book subreddit, I had to unsubscribe just because of how vocal and how aggressive people were if you didn't
Yeah.
share their
Oh, yeah.
book tastes. It's like, who cares?
Those can
You're
be
just reading.
like extreme echo chambers.
Yes, very much
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
Same 3 books are always at the top of every list, and same 3 books are always at the bottom of every list.
And everyone will ask, like, suggest me books that aren't on those repeated over and over and over again. And it's like, okay, but now these are the same books.
1984, George
Right.
Orwell.
Right.
It's like those are the top
Mistborn
1, 2, and 3.
is on
Yeah.
the fantasy one a lot, which I'm sure Mistborn is great. But
That's a
it's- Recommend a lot. Fantasy.
Sanderson.
Sanderson.
Yes.
Thank you. Very, very fun guy to listen to,
Yeah.
and very Mormon.
Oh,
He
did
is,
not know that.
he is also very, very free with his writing advice.
Yes,
Oh,
he's
interesting.
got
Yeah.
like full on like seminars
Yeah.
on
Oh,
YouTube.
that's so
yeah.
cool.
Yep.
Oh my
He's
gosh.
on TikTok and he does like extended videos on TikTok that are craft related and
That's so
yeah.
cool.
Like I don't write, and I think I watched an entire like 2-hour seminar that he gave, and it was compelling the whole time. He's so funny and well spoken.
impressive.
Yeah,
Yep.
made me start The Way of Kings 3 times,
Oh,
and I liked it every time. It's just those books are so thick.
they are big.
Yeah, they're very long.
Ugh. What would be a big guilty read, guilt-free read, or guilty pleasure for you, Brittany?
I think that I would have to say that my one, and I reread it like if I'm in a reading slump. It is a romance book. It started out as a fanfic, a Star Wars fanfic.
Oh.
And it's called The Love Hypothesis by Allie Hazelwood.
Oh yeah, I
So-
wanted to read
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Like she's getting pretty popular, isn't
She's
she?
very popular.
She is. Her last 2 books have towed more into the very spicy.
Okay.
They didn't really start out that way, but she's kind of divided like herself between, okay, these are these types of books that I write, but I also write these
Yeah.
types of books.
It's nice.
So the last 2, she has kind of gone back to her fanfic roots, I guess you would say. And but that one particular book is definitely one that I go
Oh,
back
interesting.
to when I want to like read something that I don't really have to think about but still enjoy.
Those
So-
are so pleasant.
Yeah.
Like makes you feel so warm and cuddly.
I loved Bride by her. That was
Oh, yeah.
so good.
Yeah. Yep.
It feels sort of Twilighty.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
a vampire werewolf romance,
Yep.
which that's not what Twilight is, but kind of is.
Right.
Yeah.
Good cover.
Yeah, really good cover.
I've actually got to check that. That's why the name sounded familiar.
Yeah,
Haven't
I
read
think
it
you
at
would
all.
enjoy it.
I'm sure. I've got so many things checked out right now.
Yeah, I had romance on here as like
I do too.
yeah
Yeah.
something that shouldn't be considered a guilty pleasure.
Exactly.
Because there's such a range and so much depth to a lot of them.
I have common misconceptions about certain types of books.
Yes.
And one of the common misconceptions is that romance books don't have plot or
Right.
they
Sure.
don't have character, that it's all about the romance. And that's may have been true in the past, but
Like
no
the-
longer.
Is it the Bodice
Yeah.
Ripper books?
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Which, if you love that, and nothing wrong with that, you can still find that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's, like,
Absolutely. Like,
just
Harlequin
so
still
much.
publishes
Yeah.
10
Yes.
books a month.
And they should.
When you told me that,
People love it.
mine was blown.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
just so much more to romance.
Yeah, for sure.
A very poignant line, I would say.
There's more. Red, White, and Royal Blue is another one.
Yeah.
It's so good. They made a
Like-
movie. That's
That
like
you liked?
kind of. I liked the movie a lot. They're making a sequel to the movie.
I just saw that.
Yeah.
It's awesome. But well, you were bringing up like misconceptions with guilty reads. That sounds really interesting. Like, I want to dive into that.
Yeah, I just think that people make lots of assumptions. Like, I have a library director friend that I respect greatly, but they despise cozy mysteries because
has to
they believe that one cozy mystery is exactly the same as the next, is
Aw.
exactly the same as the next. And that also, like, hurts my heart because
Yeah.
I love cozy mysteries.
It almost feels
It's like
like, a
insulting.
personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just the misconceptions that people hold, even when they may not have tried it for themselves, does a lot of books a disservice.
I agree.
I'd say so.
So-
Kind of going back to what Chloe was saying earlier about like echo chambers. Like I feel like a lot of times if you like press somebody on those opinions, the falls apart so fast.
Sure.
So,
Because
like,
they haven't read them.
Yeah.
It's just what they've heard
Right.
from other people who
Yeah.
haven't read them.
Well, the covers all look the same, and the titles are all kind of the same. And yeah.
Which is true in a lot of genres.
It
because,
is.
like,
Yeah.
publishers want people to know what they're getting so you can find the books you like. So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. I know we've said ad nauseum on this podcast that it's not an anti-James Patterson podcast.
I have
But
a
it-
Patterson book on my list actually for
perfect.
today.
Perfect. Oh. I feel like I know you've mentioned it before. I'm going to try to think of it.
the one that just came out last year. What is it? It's like Doyle.
Holmes, Marple, and Poe.
Yeah,
amazing.
Holmes, I was like,
Okay.
all I could think of the author.
That was my guilty pleasure read for 2023. Because I think maybe it was 2024, but
Yeah.
early this year. But
I
I
mean,
did enjoy it.
It ticked
Good.
like all of the boxes for you.
It didn't encourage me or make me want to read any more of James Patterson's books. It is this one particular thing that ticked all the boxes for me.
Yeah.
So
Nothing wrong with that.
But I mean, I feel like that says a lot about you too, and that you do not like James Patterson, but this book came out, sounded interesting,
Sure.
you read it, and you
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are just so set in their opinions, and they will never sway,
Yeah.
and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
But like, it drives me nuts when people kind of brush off an entire genre like cozy mysteries, but then they're fanatical about James Patterson.
Sure.
Yes.
Or fanatical about Amish fiction.
Yeah.
Yes. Of which there's so many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Didn't know
like-
that before I started here.
And probably could say the same thing. Like you could say, oh, they're all the same, but like you've never read any.
Yeah,
How do you know?
The male love interest could have been in a different war. Not the same at all.
It's very different. Oh.
Well, he could have been maimed by a different piece of non-motorized machinery.
A sickle this time.
Oh, should write your own series.
I would feel
Amish fiction series.
very unqualified. I haven't read any.
I don't know. Just
Maybe that's the way to do it.
yeah. Take a shot.
Going blind. Deeply offend the Amish community, probably. Unintentionally. I don't have anything against the Amish, obviously, but
Like you're just gonna post it on the internet, and then you're
I'm not going to do anything.
you're fine. They won't find you there.
That's a good point.
I feel like
Oh
we're
my
doing
gosh.
exactly what I was saying we shouldn't do.
I know.
yeah.
But
I
it's
know.
so
But we
much fun.
Do as we say,
We
not as we
can.
do.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like we can make jokes because it's not the
Uh-huh.
books that we read. But
Yeah.
if one of us read those books, I mean, we'd still make the jokes. But
That's
it's like,
true. We would also take it gracefully.
exactly. Yeah.
I make fun of all the stuff I love.
Yeah.
Have to.
You have to.
I'm not gonna read Amish fiction.
No,
But
probably not.
Enjoy
no,
what
like,
you enjoy.
Nothing is for everybody,
No.
and if it was, it would be the worst book ever.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I've always been very vocally pro, just like read whatever you want. Who cares? Like, well, to a degree, watch what you want. I don't know. I think
this
I feel like
caveat with
no. I
watching
feel like
stuff?
there is a difference. I mean,
What's the
maybe it's like
difference?
elitism, but I feel like reading stuff is the healthier than watching TV. So I feel like
Yeah, I can see how that would be. Like, even as you're reading, in some way or another, you're being enriched or you're learning, even if
Yeah.
it's, just at the most basic level where TV can be mindless entertainment.
completely like
And-
shut
But
your
is there
mind
anything
off.
wrong with that?
And no,
Like, should you not watch it?
No.
because you
No.
said read what you want, but not
No,
watch what
like
you want.
I'll judge you.
Oh, okay.
But don't like not do it.
Okay, you'll judge what people watch, but not what they read.
But I'm not saying I like that part of me. It's
Okay,
just
okay.
like instinctively.
I have found that I can sit and focus on reading, but I have a hard time sitting and focusing on just watching something.
Same. I have not been able to for maybe the past 6 months watch anything anymore.
I have a really hard time with it, and I don't know why it is, but my attention wanders, and I find I have to be doing something with my hands to be
Oh,
able
same.
to
Yep.
stay focused on the TV.
I'm
Yeah.
playing a silly game on my phone or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Or if I'm like crocheting and watching something, then I feel less bad.
Or I color.
Oh, that's
or,
nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if you're crocheting or coloring, then maybe it's tapping into the same part of
Yeah,
your brain
it's a
because
little
you're
more
like
productive.
Sure.
focusing and you're like
Yeah.
exercising your brain. Like I can't start a new series because the phones are these dang
Yeah.
phones these days.
Yeah, I have a hard time like actually. If I'm watching something new, I can't crochet because I can't look up.
Right.
Yeah, but
That's fair.
I can't focus long enough. My brain has been in reading mode.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, it feels good.
Like I haven't been in reading or watching mode. Like the
That's
only
tough.
new thing I've watched recently is the new SpongeBob episodes came out today. I only know that because my 7-year-old has been talking about it for 2 months.
That's awesome.
It's been like, "What's your plans on July 10th, Dad?" I'm like, I don't know. It's April.
I felt like that's how it was when The Sign came out. The Bluey episode, The Sign.
Oh yeah. crying.
There were Bluey mini episodes.
Yeah,
Minisodes.
There are.
I saw that. Yeah.
It's just so huge now.
You're
And-
in like parent mode.
yeah,
Your kids are too little to do anything else.
that's true. But then
Yeah.
I spend 16 hours on Reddit, so I
Never mind.
could be reading
Yeah, that's fair.
and like
Well, you are reading.
On
yeah,
Reddit. And to your kids.
ironic. Yes, I do read to them a bunch.
So the week of fair, we were into summer reading here, and we got home from fair, and I picked up Cammie's reading log, and I was like, Cammie, you were too busy to read this week. Why are your boxes checked off? And she said, Mom, I read my patterns, and I read the show bills every single day.
That counts.
That counts. I
Totally
said, you know
counts.
what?
Yeah.
You're right.
If you ask Miss Barbara,
awesome.
that definitely counts.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
She's so smart.
Kids are busy these days.
They are.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. Was that the 90s or is it just me?
I don't know.
Is it that kid? There's like way more extracurricular stuff
I think it's
than when we were kids.
We lived on a farm, so there was no downtime.
That makes sense.
Like
fair,
in the
yeah.
summer, we were awakened
Fair.
at 7 or 7:30 every morning
Oh,
because there's too much stuff to do. And
yeah. I think it depends because on like the kid and the family. Like when I was a kid, I had no downtime either. We were going every
Yeah.
single day, and I did
Yeah.
every extracurricular. But that was a lot of my own like wanting to get into college and wanting to
Sure.
whatever. And then my sister doesn't do anything, and that's okay. Like
Yeah.
she did do cheer, but she got injured, so she couldn't she couldn't participate. But like it's just like a different vibe.
it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
different
for sure.
mindset. Sure.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't think it mattered what decade it was.
No, I figured it probably didn't.
Yeah.
There were kids that were doing extra stuff.
I think there's some differences.
When
Like
I
I
was a
think there's
kid.
more pressure on kids to like work or do stuff to get into college than there used to be.
Yeah.
It used to just be like you could get into college just on like grades, and you still can, depends on the college.
Sure. And like back then, I feel like in the 90s, if you went to college, then you had a leg up over like so many
Yeah.
people. And now it's just kind of like you have to get something
Yeah.
from college. It's kind of not very fair.
No, I feel like we're slowly moving away from that.
Yeah.
College
I
can
agree.
be really good, but it also can not be good for
It's
some
not
people.
for
Yeah.
everyone.
It's not, and that's
No.
like good that we accept
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I always respect kids that take like a 3 or 4 year break because if
Sure.
I had to come up with my major when I was 18,
yeah.
I was an idiot. Like I just wanted to do what I wanted to do, so
Yeah.
I wanted to be and nothing against history majors, but like I didn't have any interest in like teaching.
Sure.
And so I was like, I like history, let's do that. And so yeah, hit a wall pretty quick
That's fair.
on that one. But what were we talking about?
Guilty free, guilty pleasure,
Yeah,
guilt,
Do like-
shame.
yeah, shame. Like the idea of talking about the common misconceptions, which I feel like we hit on pretty well. But
There's some like classics. I feel like people can be like, well, they're just boring, or like they're hard to understand,
Yeah.
or
Or
whatever.
you're made to feel guilty if you haven't read
That's
the
true.
classics.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's like two extremes.
Yeah.
yeah, and like neither of those are true. They're just books.
yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
and there's
Or if-
amazing ones.
Or if you say, I don't enjoy the classics, there is a section of people who will look down at you as being an imbecile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll act as if you're less intelligent.
Yeah.
But like classics include also like children's books. It's like
Absolutely.
you
Right.
don't need to be extra smart to read Alice in Wonderland.
Or,
but it is
yeah,
a good book.
yeah.
And it is a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
you do get like that cultural education, reading stuff like Dickens and
Totally.
Well,
There's worth to them.
and as we broaden our minds and our views and our horizons a little bit, the classics, the canon, becomes much bigger
Very true.
than
Yeah.
what we once thought it to be.
yeah, and like. There's a handful of classics that everybody knows. There's probably a lot of really the big stinkers back then
That's
too.
true. Yeah.
just-
there was
they
just as much
stopped getting
variety.
printed.
Yeah.
And I think I read that like when the classics were being produced and written, like reading fiction was looked down as like a Philistine activity.
Twas.
It's like should be
Novels were
Yeah.
looked down on
Yeah.
as a whole.
like it was akin to like watching 40 Day Fiance
Right.
today.
It's like, what are you getting from this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so funny.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Do you think 40 Day Fiance is going to be, or 90 Day Fiance, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
is going to be like the classics in 100 years?
ask me then.
Okay. Sure.
Great show, though.
Love it. Very entertaining. Sad.
Very, very sad.
Yeah.
I think that is the form of media that I have more shame watching stuff, and I consume way more shameful content. It's much easier to consume like visual media, so I think it's very easy for me to be scrolling through the TV channels and finding a 10-hour Road Rules marathon and watching all 10 hours of it.
I have a deep-seated hatred toward reality TV, and when I met my
Deservedly so.
husband, he was a Billy the Exterminator watcher.
Oh my God.
So,
That mullet.
no, not Dog the Bounty Hunter, Billy the
He
Exterminator.
didn't have a mullet too?
I don't think so. I don't know. He
Okay.
always had that hat on, so I
No.
guess I. But
I did
yeah,
like Dog the Bounty Hunter too. That is a terrible show though. Not a great guy.
no.
No, not
Very
at all.
entertaining. Terrible
Horrible
family
human
all
being.
around.
Just the worst.
Yeah.
But I watched that every week because the show was filmed right outside of where I lived in Colorado Springs.
Didn't know that.
So many episodes. They'd be like,
Dog
oh,
the Bounty Hunter?
Yeah.
I thought they were in Hawaii.
They
Like
lived
now.
in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were both places. Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's
So
cool.
I think most of it was like in Denver and other parts of
Wow.
Colorado. But
Mm-hmm.
there were a couple of times where it was like, oh, this is the Blockbuster I worked at. It's so fun. It's like I could have met the dog.
the dog. Would you want to?
Yikes.
We'll cut this. I'm light, so I think it
That's
would have
true.
gone fine.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad man.
Now give your
Yeah.
on-air answer. Would you
What-
want to?
Yes, because I want to be able to tell everybody.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Because like everybody's gonna ask what happened when you met Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Sure.
I declined to shake his hand.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve that, and he doesn't.
I
seem,
declined a selfie.
Yeah.
Not on principle. It was just too greasy.
Too. Yeah. Grimy. Yeah.
Oh dear me.
So, do you consume any guilty, like TV or film?
I don't know. I feel like there's less meaningful TV or film to me than there used to be.
Sure.
I don't mean like they're not producing meaningful TV or film. It's just less to me.
That's
you know
fair.
what I mean? When the Lord of the Rings trilogy came out, like that had a big impact on me personally. I was a fan of like the first phase of the Marvel films, and now like I haven't watched the last 10 whatever things they've produced just
Yeah.
because it has gotten less meaningful as time has gone
Sure.
on.
Volume kind of just oversaturates.
I think so.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
and so I have always steered clear of watching like procedural, except for Bones. I loved Bones. But that was a smart show. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
it had, it was set in DC and there was cultural stuff in it, which I appreciated.
And you have Angel in it, which helps.
Right.
That's why I watched it. Yeah.
Right. And so I get way less involved in TV and film than I used to. And I do
That's
find
fair.
that the ones that I do spend my time watching are old ones.
Yeah. That's
So
fair.
Totally makes
Yeah.
sense. Been on a Jeopardy kick.
Yeah. Love
It's so much
Jeopardy.
fun.
I like the old ones and I like the new ones. And the middle ones, I'm like, I don't know anything. The old ones are really easy.
right.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
The reruns from the 90s.
Yeah. Well, like
the
the
70s.
70s.
Oh, yeah.
Like when they first started, they're like, what animal makes this sound? But, reverse that.
And then Alex
answer is
Trebek
just
still
moo.
says it
Yeah.
sort of this condescending way.
They didn't have to like scrape the bottom of the barrel yet
No,
for
no.
questions.
I feel like we've reached a point in television, maybe I'm wrong just because I'm so far behind, but there's so many series that are out there that are supposed to be incredible. And I feel like I have to turn my brain on and like go into the mentality that I
Sure.
have to absorb like everything because things aren't as serialized as they used to. Like there's so much continuity in shows now, and I love
Yeah,
that.
that's
true.
But it's so much harder for me to pull the trigger and just casually watch something
Yeah.
anymore.
You can't just put a random episode on.
Yeah, I want to
And
start
they
the bear,
still,
but I
I want to watch that really bad.
have to watch all through.
Yeah. They still make those kind of shows, but I think for me, I just don't enjoy those kind of shows as much.
Yeah.
So I'm not drawn to them. Like, I like the ones with continuity more, but it is such a commitment. And there's so many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's silly, but I feel worse giving up on a show halfway through than I do a book. Maybe because like
Interesting.
maybe I'm just going back to like the Game of Thrones or the Breaking Bads, where it's like week to week, and like it was much bigger time commitment.
That's fair.
Sure, I kind of have found that myself. So season 3 of Bridgerton came out recently,
Right.
as the global sensation, we'll call it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And they
It's huge.
split it into 2 halves.
Oh.
And they released the whole first half. It was, 3 or 4 episodes. And then it was like a month before the second half came out. And I binge watched the first half of the season. And the second half has been out since like June 15th. And I haven't watched it because like I lost interest.
Yeah.
Because I have forgotten how to watch something week to week.
Yeah.
Disney has done that with their Star Wars shows.
Right.
They release them week to week instead of all at once. And that has been really nice for me to be able to kind of get
ease
back
back.
into
Yeah.
I kind of missed
remembering how to do that.
Yeah.
It was kind of nice.
The fandoms, though, go crazy because
I can't handle it.
This is a plot hole. This is a plot hole. Why haven't they
my
talked
God.
about this? Well,
Wait.
because you haven't seen the whole series yet,
so
and
stressful.
I call it.
You're used to watching the entire season like
Yes.
one
And
day.
having it resolved immediately.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
yeah, this is how TV used to be.
Yeah.
You silly millennials.
Honestly.
This is why, like, I can't watch anything popular until it's been popular for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Because I just am like, I can't take it all.
Yeah, I
Everyone
just
calm down.
stay off all
Yeah.
the boards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once it's been out
Yeah.
for a decade, then I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'll catch up now.
Yeah.
I mean, I do miss the week-to-week stuff like Game of Thrones because part of it I loved going on Reddit like after an episode and like reading fan theories and like having discussions and like you don't get that anymore.
I like seeing
Right.
it like from the future.
So, sometimes I do, but then I get frustrated that I can't like contribute.
Oh,
And then
that's
like
fair.
if you're doing it in the
Oh,
future,
yeah.
like all of the episodes are out and it's
Sure,
going to be
sure.
impossible to avoid a spoiler.
Right.
Just thrown
That's
in
true.
there.
Yeah, you have to wait till you're done.
Yeah. Which I like to do a week to week.
That's
Just
fair.
part of my brain.
Yeah, I think I just kind of missed that. I wasn't really watching any of those shows when they came out.
Sure.
I feel like Game of Thrones was probably the last huge one that was like I mean, they had like
Well, House of the
Breaking
Dragon
Bad
right
was-
now
that's right. That's huge.
is very big.
Breaking Bad, was that after or before? you?
Before.
Okay.
Before. Yeah, I heard that House of the Dragon is like phenomenal too.
So the season 2 is out right now, and episode 4 just released, and it's really interesting because I have not watched it. I didn't watch Game of Thrones past season 1, but I can keep up on what's happening because there are content creators that is their entire
That's
life.
insane.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
And-
That sounds
Crazy.
amazing.
Yeah. And some of them are so good at their jobs, like I feel like they live with George R. R. Martin, or maybe George R. R. Martin should move in with them.
Honestly.
But
care of him.
yeah, but that fandom I have found to be way less toxic for some reason, and
Interesting.
I'm not sure why. Like
Yeah.
the Star Wars fandom is
More
like,
grown-ups, maybe.
maybe
Less of a teen audience.
the Star Wars fandom is angry
About
old.
everything.
There might be also
old
another
people.
demographic. Like I feel like Star Wars shifts male.
Yes,
in general.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Not entirely, obviously. I know a lot of like female Star Wars fans, but they're scared.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Understandably
Star
so.
Wars isn't for girls.
Yeah.
One of my good friends from school, Star Wars is like her favorite thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, she has Star Wars tattoos.
Yeah,
She loves
yeah.
it. But like in class, we both were film majors, so in class she would like lie about knowing anything about Star Wars because she didn't want to be interrogated.
Attacked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like a
So
nightmare.
obnoxious.
Yeah.
I do feel like it's got a pretty big cross section of like misogynists that love
It's
it.
horrible
Just,
because
like,
I don't think the
the
series
hatred.
is
Yeah.
like particularly misogynistic at
No.
all.
No, it's not at all.
And I
Like
don't
it tries
feel-
to be progressive.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say I don't feel like that's the way George meant it to
No.
go
Yeah.
either.
No, I
Yeah.
don't think so.
Not
Because
at
even
all.
from the beginning, like Leia is such a strong character.
They would never have gotten off to Death Star without her.
Yeah.
She's necessary.
And that's
Yeah.
what always drives me insane. And it's the same group with like Star Trek. They're
Yeah.
like Star Trek, they got little tried to pander too much to.
This is how the Doctor Who fandom is now.
I can imagine.
And
So
and
awful.
Doctor Who has always been wildly progressive.
Yeah.
But then people forget that even way back in the 60s when it started, this is how it was. And yeah, it's just
It's nothing new.
horrible right now.
I mean, that is so like parallel to Star Trek too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
did you not remember the
Uhura Kirk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was huge in the 60s.
Huge.
There's no money in Star Trek. It's
Right.
a socialist utopia.
Right. Yeah.
Like, this isn't a new thing just because there's a woman captain.
Right.
Like, they
Like,
probably just
calm
didn't
down.
think that deeply about anything.
No. Because
Didn't process any of it.
there were kids in the 90s and everybody,
Mm-hmm.
like, Kate Mulgrew transcends time and space, so
She
nobody
does.
complained
Indeed,
about her.
she does.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But now they're old enough to complain on the internet,
Yes.
so all
Yep.
of a sudden,
They have new
Yep.
opinions.
yeah. Without getting too in depth, alienating anybody, it's just frustrating. So I
Yeah.
guess I don't miss that part of like fandom
Sure.
every week. Wasn't too bad in Game of Thrones, I feel like, but it's everywhere. The internet was a mistake. Thanks, thanks, Al.
I agree.
Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Al. Aw, Al.
Oh, gosh. What do you think? Should we take an ad break?
Oh, yes,
Thanks, Al.
we should.
Yeah. We'll be right back with the Babsy Bird. Chloe,
Zach!
hey, how's it going?
I'm
Summer
good.
reading is over.
That's true.
Oh, what a time to be
What
alive.
a time.
That's what I've always said. We got something a little different. Oh, we're in the ads right now.
Yes, we are.
Do we
The ad
normally
zone.
like announce
I
that
think
we're in the ads?
sometimes we're like, welcome to the ads.
Do we?
I don't know.
Should we have like an intro? Because I always like scramble to make conversation with you. I don't know how to.
You don't.
You're easy to talk to, but
You don't let me
hard to
talk
start.
in the ads.
Okay,
You just talk
Wow.
over me.
Okay.
So yeah, we don't have conversation.
sure. Take it away, Chloe.
Okay, I will. This week, Wednesday, story time is a little different. It's the same time, 10:30, and that's July 31st, Wednesday. This
Yep.
is what happens when I talk for too long.
Why is it going to be different, Chloe?
Avery's gonna run story
Avery's
time.
going to run it. I know what you're saying now.
Avery is doing a boat-themed story time
Cool.
and has a really cool craft.
Hey guys, sorry for the jarring transition there. Our recorder cut off for some reason. But yeah, Avery's doing story time, and then on August 2nd, Michelle's got a drop-in craft. So come by, make some mermaid keychains, some macrame mermaid keychains. It'll be a good time. Well, let's get back to the podcast. We're back.
We are.
Thanks for the ads, guys.
We are.
So I feel like a good kind of cap to our discussion on guilty reads would be kind of some guided tips on how to approach
Sure.
guilty read selections. You got anything, Chloe?
I have some tips on here. Like, I feel like there's no shame in, like, if you aren't comfortable talking about what you read with some people, like, it's okay to keep it to yourself.
Sure.
Like, if you can't get rid of that guilty feeling, like, some people aren't worth, like... Also, like, you don't have to be friends with people who are mean to you about what you read.
Ah, perfect.
100%.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
if you don't feel comfortable sharing it with them, maybe you don't have to be friends with them forever.
Some people take things too seriously.
Yeah. It's supposed to be fun. I feel like that's a good thing to keep in mind. Is like,
Yeah.
reading is supposed to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
And reading is reading is a personal preference and a personal choice.
Yeah.
And you should not let someone who may not agree with your reading choices based on their reading choices feel bad about what you read.
Honestly,
Exactly.
you
It
should-
doesn't
yeah.
matter what it is.
Yes.
If you have someone that says that fiction is a waste of time, don't let them make you feel guilty for reading fiction
Agreed.
or something that's not their personal preference or they don't personally like.
Yeah.
That should not have a bearing on what you read.
No.
Nothing that you're enjoying is a waste of time.
Yeah.
Like, blanket statement. Unless it's hurting somebody. Then it's more than a waste of time.
yeah, that goes without saying.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like so many people that harshly judge others for their reading habits, like, it's just an extension of their own insecurities.
Yeah,
and
honestly.
just, So, like, just roll with it.
Something they felt bad about once upon a time, probably.
Who knows? And even if it's not, like, don't give it that much thought. It's like, I feel like the media that we consume and our hobbies and interests, it's all like extensions of ourselves. So it's
Sure.
not like you're just
Yeah.
judging somebody else's reading habits. You're just judging like their, your likes and part of
Yeah.
your personality, and it's unnecessary.
It can be cruel. Like Brittany said, it's very personal. So like
It
it can
is.
feel like a personal attack.
And it is,
Yeah.
usually. Yeah, hate it.
Yeah. Another thing I wrote down when I was thinking about this part of it was like, if you can, it is very good to find someone whose like opinions you don't agree with necessarily, but you value,
Sure.
so you can talk about the things that you read
Yeah.
together, and it's not just an echo chamber, and you like some of the same things, but like you dislike some of the same things. I don't know. It's good.
I think that is important.
Yeah.
Sure.
Very
Maybe not
important.
easy to find, but
Different
Yeah.
perspectives that you may not
Yeah.
have thought of before, or
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely.
something that gets you out of your box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the tips I thought of was know your doorways. Like, know which
Hey.
doorways you tend to prefer, and that will help you a lot.
Yeah.
So if you know you like books with strong characterization, then, try these types of books. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That can help you explain
Yeah.
why something is like good to you or enjoyable to you, or why you didn't like something that
Right.
someone else likes too,
Yeah.
in like a coherent, not mean way.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
I struggled so much when I started reading like seriously in my early 20s because I didn't have anything to measure like good against the bad. So it's
Sure.
like, I'm enjoying this. Should I enjoy it? Am I going to get ridiculed for enjoying this?
And did
Yeah.
you feel a little bit more free when you figured out that good and bad was completely subjective?
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, okay. Then I finally like started reading a book and I was like, I don't like this. Oh, good. I
Oh,
don't
sure.
like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very liberating.
Yeah.
Yeah, like set my barometer.
Yeah.
But like going back to the doorways, as soon as I do like the fantasy that I like is built on like world building, I was like, oh, now I can just like go grab something because I know what was steering me in that direction.
Sure.
It's so nice. It's
Yeah.
really helpful.
Yeah.
For sure.
I have found I thought that I'm a character doorway person, number one. I thought I was a plot person, number two. And in this year I have read 2 meticulously plotted books, and I have been bored out of my mind. The first one was The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle.
Okay.
Okay.
And it is a bestseller, rave reviews. I read it. I got all the way through it. I appreciated the book, but I struggled to get through it.
Totally makes sense. I don't like, I go back and forth because I know that world building is huge for me, but character development is like, honestly, probably number one as well. Because if you don't care about the characters, what's the
I have
point?
a hard time staying with the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like characters become more important to me too than it used to be. Like I used to really like what's the fourth one that's like is it just language or
Like the actual narrative.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like the way like the writing style used to be extremely important to me, but then I read a book recently that had really good writing style, but the plot was bad and the characters were bad.
Oh,
And the
that's
world
rough.
the world building could have been good, and I just like I hated it so much.
What was the name of this book?
It was. I feel bad saying this because it was very highly. It was To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods, which was so highly anticipated.
I
One of
haven't
the
read
Kate
that,
Crane
but
ones?
Yes, it was one of the
Yeah.
Kate Crane books,
It
and I was
was.
so excited for it. And the premise was so good, and like her author's note was like, "This is like a love letter to my grandparents who were like, her family was not part of, but like victims of Unit 731
Oh.
in Manchuria, and like she was like, this is like a parallel to that." And I was like, this is so well researched, and then the book just wasn't good.
Yeah.
Which made me very
So
sad.
disappointing.
Boo.
Yeah.
Was that her debut?
Yes.
Okay. That's right, because she was like review bombing a bunch of like debut authors.
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Debut POC authors.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bad.
Terrible.
Just terrible.
And like I shouldn't have like assumed that the book was gonna be good because of that, but I had my hopes up.
Yeah.
So it was very disappointing. And I mean, the idea is so good that like maybe she'll turn it around in the sequel, but I don't know if I'll
If
read
she
it.
gets one.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not
There's
getting
been-
good reviews.
There have been lots and lots of instances of authors behaving badly recently.
Yes, she is a part of. There's. I'm not going to say anything.
But
I
it's
don't know
so
enough
interesting,
about it.
though.
It's extremely complex that I only know just a little bit of it, and it makes me sad because it's a lot of authors that I like getting involved.
I've learned recently, and this is a hardcore Blaken statement, but like, I'm just gonna stop liking anybody that's an actor, musician,
At all.
the author,
There are
anybody.
about 5 who are safe.
Yeah,
Honestly.
it's like at this point, it's like I'm gonna read the book and I'm gonna put tape over all the authors' names. I'm not gonna look. I don't know.
That's a good way to do it. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
It's a good solution.
Weirdly, like, I've never had any doubt that Stephen King will have like a clear record when
Sure.
he dies.
Oh,
Yeah, he seems like a lovely
Yeah.
man,
He's been a grandpa
Yeah.
man
Yeah.
for his entire life.
and he's been so honest about his issues.
About his fault,
that
Yeah.
like it makes me trust him more.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's
yeah,
huge.
for sure.
Feels like a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so distraught, and we don't need to go off on a
You're going to
tangent
talk
here.
about Neil Gaiman, aren't you?
Oh no, I forgot about Neil Gaiman. Yeah, let's talk about
geez.
Neil.
That was upsetting.
Oh, that was upsetting to me.
His response was terrible.
That was just awful.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't a crime. It was just this thing that should have been a crime.
Yeah.
But
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say Sherman Alexie really bummed me out.
Yeah.
Diaz bummed me out a lot. What's the point? Stephen Graham Jones is fine.
That's good.
I'm sure because I've met
I
him
don't know.
several times.
Yeah, I like
I
the one
know
book I
him,
read
so
by
he
him.
can't possibly be a bad
That's
human
why
being.
I stuttered
able to
halfway
tell.
through my sentence. I was like, I met him 2 times at a party and he was hungover.
You know his general, but didn't he talk about eating like eggs out of a dirty pan?
Yeah, he was feeling sick. He's like, shit,
yeah.
so don't eat eggs out of a dirty pan. I was
think
like, I don't
he-
even like eggs.
I think he said that on one of our first podcasts.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was getting back into reading after my oldest was old enough to take care of himself,
Two.
yeah,
Drive himself
Yeah,
to work
yeah.
and back.
he got there. He's doing okay for himself. I read somebody online recommend this. You just go to the new fiction shelf and just blindly grab something that doesn't look terrible.
Oh, that's so stressful.
So stressful. And I discovered so many really good authors that way.
That's kind of how I like to. I mostly pick like books by authors I know or just random.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I mean makes sense. The idea of doing that now when I have decision paralysis, I have to weigh 1,000 different options.
I don't like to make a choice. So like random to me is like I don't have to think.
Not only
That makes
that,
sense.
but I totally judge books by their cover.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know you're not supposed to, but I absolutely do.
And it
Everybody
does tell you
does.
stuff.
If
Yeah.
the cover is terrible, I'm not reading it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should do like good books with bad covers.
We should.
Because there
That's-
are some.
There
That's a
are.
great idea. Visual episode, baby.
Yeah, it'd be a good visual one.
All of
That'd be
Marie
cool.
Lou's books have
Yes.
terrible
She does not have
covers.
good covers.
But yeah, that's a great idea.
It'd be fun.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you had an interesting...
I do have a
Thing.
little thing that we can wrap up with today.
Can I throw one thing out before we go? Because
Do
I'm
it.
on music, the piece of garbage. Just real quick, what's your biggest music guilty pleasure?
Oh,
Either
I
artist
don't
or
know.
song?
I
Mine, all of my artists are guilty.
Here's a
Yeah.
question though.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't consider some of the artists that I like guilty pleasures, but others would.
Yeah.
I
Like
think
I,
that's almost
I love
all.
Taylor Swift's music, but I don't consider her a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, you
But
shouldn't.
there
She's
are
extremely
others,
popular.
But
Yeah.
there are others that do.
Yeah.
And,
So that's
like,
interesting.
I always
People
wonder
who
if
Interesting question.
look down
Yeah.
on pop in general.
Right.
Which is
Exactly.
a huge
Right.
category of people.
Yeah.
the people that despise Taylor Swift, I feel like I want to know how many of them have actually sat down and listened to her music.
Not only that, but how many of them struggle with insecurity?
Yeah, pretty big overlap between them and the Star Trek fans.
Fans in quotes. Because
Yeah.
this isn't a visual episode, but
Right.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good
Interesting.
point.
It is a good point.
There's some stuff that I listen to All Star by Smash Mouth every day.
Oh,
That's a great
yeah.
song.
But
Now
that
that
one, that one has that one has childhood significance to you.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that meme quality is charming and nostalgic.
It's got all these qualities. Now my youngest, my 3-year-old, every time I pick him up and we're heading back home, he sings along in the back seat silently, and he's furrowing his brow and getting
so
really into
cute.
it. He looks
Oh
so
my
intense.
gosh, good.
It's it's just a Smash Mouth, buddy.
He
Don't
doesn't know
take
what
it too
that means.
seriously. These bigger things.
Yeah.
Does that make you question what music you listen to in front of your children?
I should, because
I have thought about this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
forming
Yeah.
their music taste.
Right.
I
Yeah.
know. And I've
they're
had
gonna
to
like
like catch
rebel
myself.
against
because
it.
I
true.
still listen to music that my mom listened to when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like I'm a fan of Neil Diamond and of
I was
John
gonna bring up
Denver,
Neil Diamond.
and but that's what we listened to when I was a kid.
Yeah, and like a lot of that stuff still holds up super well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it's looked down upon because it's like, oh, it's boomer music. It's like, yeah,
I love Neil Diamond.
great.
Yeah.
Great voice.
I've seen him live in concert.
That's amazing.
I was the only one in the crowd that was under 50 years old.
Doesn't surprise me, but still, he's still got a good voice.
He does.
Like I've had to catch myself because like I was getting really, really into the Kendrick Lamar Drake beef.
Oh,
And so
it's
it's like-
still happening.
That's so
It's still
good.
happening.
Not appropriate for your kids.
No,
Nope.
but like 3
Yeah.
days ago, Kendrick Lamar dropped a diss track during
Oh my
Drake's
gosh.
white party, and Kendrick Lamar's was like the whole video is white, like
That's
he
so
knew
good.
he was ready for it.
So
It's just,
good.
It's
I haven't
brilliant.
heard that one. That's
Amazing
fantastic.
music video. The
I love Kendrick. He's so talented.
the thumbnail for that diss track, the one that was he's been singing live a bunch. The thumbnail for the track on Spotify is a picture of Drake's mansion, and it's got like a red dot on top of it, like the the neighborhood maps.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fun.
That's hilarious.
Good.
But I have to catch myself playing that in the car with my children
Not a
because
good
there's
move.
some
Oh, I like
questionable.
me being the Gen X / millennial, because I was born in 1980, so the last year of
Right on the edge.
Gen X,
Yeah.
right? Grew up with Eminem, and so when Houdini released, like that was like Christmas.
Oh, honestly.
It was great.
Like my Alexa had like 15 plays for that day, and then I heard my girls upstairs singing singing Houdini. I was like, oh, that probably wasn't a great idea.
It's fine.
It's
Jonas.
so hard.
Yeah. Eminem is like if he didn't want kids to sing his music,
That's true.
stop being so
That's true.
delightful.
That's right. That's right. More delightful as he gets older.
Honestly,
Yeah.
it's so funny. Dude, a few years ago, then we can move on to thing you've put time and effort
I
into.
didn't say any
Yes,
music
yes.
kid either.
Oh.
I didn't say any music kid either.
That's fair. That's totally
ahead.
fair.
No, you
please.
exactly
I was just
finish what you were gonna say.
Did you hear the Eminem diss track against Machine Gun Kelly from
Yes.
years ago?
That
It's
was
one of-
good.
well, one of my favorites.
That came up with the whole Kendrick Drake thing. It brought back up the Eminem Machine Gun Kelly thing.
So good.
Amazing.
It was so rough. He went from being a hip hop artist to a pop punk artist.
Sure did.
Yeah. He had to retire and start a new career. It's so embarrassing.
Hilarious.
Yeah. It's fun. I like K-pop. And
Yeah,
a lot
oh,
of people
that's
don't
right.
like K-pop. And it's like a whole big thing. I feel like it's like, I don't know if it's a guilty pleasure at this point because it's getting more and more mainstream.
It
but
is pretty
Yeah.
mainstream.
Yeah.
They were at the Met Gala. I
Yeah.
don't know which band it was, but
Stray
I know
Kids.
that there was
Oh, crazy.
like,
Yeah, my band.
Nice.
there was a lot
The
of
one I-
commentary about it because
Yes.
people felt like they were treated abominably.
They were extremely
So-
racistly.
Really?
Like
Oh, geez.
racistly? That's not a word, but
That's not surprising though. That's
Yeah.
people
horrible.
were mocking them and assuming that they couldn't speak English, which
Yeah.
2 of their members are Australian.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
So they're and at least half of them are very fluent in English, and
I
most of
remember
them can
seeing
speak
a lot
quite
about
a
that
bit.
afterward.
Like
Yes.
everybody from any other country besides America,
Yeah.
all bilingual pretty much.
Pretty much.
No. The worst part about it wasn't even that they weren't actually from this country, but they were just assuming that they weren't because of the way they look.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
So.
it's terrible.
And they were being mocked for how they were posing and being told that they were expressionless, which is also very racist, and
Right.
told to East Asian people a lot
Yeah.
that they lack expression,
Yeah.
which is just a horrible
Yeah.
thing to say. Yeah, it was just bad all around. It had to have not been a fun experience for them.
Yeah.
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 Very sad.
Awful.
Yeah.
People are bad.
People are
Avoid being friends
bad.
with those people.
Don't be friends with people.
That's a good
Yeah.
like button to put on this part. I think. Don't make friends with bad people. Yeah.
I'll stick by that.
I agree.
I don't know. Is that really a guilty pleasure?
I don't know. I feel like there's a-
Again, it's the Taylor Swift thing.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I don't think so, but like a lot of people would consider it that. I also
Sure.
listen to a lot of like gross pop where it's like women who are very either really angry or
Oh.
like really
Alanis Morissette music.
kind of, but like grosser. like
Much grosser.
Ashnikko. Huh?
Much grosser.
Yeah. Ashnikko,
PP cocaine.
I wasn't gonna say her name.
We can cut it, but I mean that's the name of the
I was
artist.
trying to think of anyone besides her.
Find her on Spotify.
Oh, don't.
No, I'm
Well,
saying like
do if you're
the
an
name is
adult.
out there.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very explicit.
Yes. I like that kind of thing where it's like ironically like I don't know, disgusting because I feel like women are a lot of times like you have to be like very
Behave yourself.
Yeah.
presentable
Sure.
and
Yeah.
stuff, and so I like these women that are just like, I'm gonna say really gross things in a very angry way.
And call attention to the double standard.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I won't endorse some of these women are also very, very bad people, but Ashniko is wonderful.
Yeah. Seems to be.
Yeah, as far as I know.
When I was working out the other day, I was listening to the entirety of Jagged Little Pill, and you know what?
Oh,
I
so
think
good.
I think Irony got too much hate. Like, I think people should calm down.
But
It's a good
here's the
song.
question. There's nothing in that song that's actually ironic.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Like,
That's
been the,
my issue
Yeah.
with that song.
that was mine too
Like,
for
I,
years.
I still like it. I like the song. I
Yeah.
sing the song. I listen to it when it comes on.
the
but-
unfortunate doesn't roll off the tongue.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
That would be
yeah.
a terrible song title.
I'm a music, not a lyrics person, so like I don't care. Like you can say whatever.
I mean, it was pretty egregious in that song.
I've read the lyrics and I've
Yeah.
heard the song, and it is none of it is ironic.
Bad.
Yeah.
But still, it's a banger.
Got some press.
Like,
I like You
finally-
Learn off that
Oh,
album.
yeah. You live, you learn. And then You Want to Know, written for Uncle Joey.
Uncle Joey.
Amazing.
yeah.
Just picture her singing this really angsty song while he's practicing with Mr. Woodchuck ventriloquism. Like, what a combination.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Very sweet.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the
Yeah.
really cool segment here.
So, thanks. Too much. Don't. Too much.
I said,
No.
I said cool. That's it.
Okay. I found 2 articles that are basically like, one is from Bustle. It's what your favorite book genre says about you, and then Thrift Books did You Are What You Read. And so they both said like basically what it means about you if you read a specific genre. And I thought it would be fun to say what we think of people who read that genre and then see what they said.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And not Thrift Books didn't do as many categories as Bustle, so some of them there's only one, but
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
The first one is classics. What do you think of a classics reader?
The, like, honest answer?
Yeah.
Pretentious.
That's the exact word that came to my
Yeah.
mind
Yeah.
too.
Pretentious
And
or
I
like in school.
Say that knowing that there are some classics that I actually enjoy, about 4 of them.
Sure.
There's some that I can like Alice in Wonderland. Those books are some of my favorite books
Yes.
ever.
One
Yeah.
you just read, was it Dracula that you really liked?
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
Yeah.
was good.
I've heard Count of Monte Cristo is like,
I have
Really
never
good?
been able to slog my way through that.
Never tried.
But
Never tried.
I do genuinely enjoy the Austen books.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I love the social commentary.
Very funny, too.
I was super happy that I had read Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility before I read Pride and Prejudice and Zombies and Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters.
So good.
That author was brilliant.
Oh, that's amazing.
Like, just, I cackled hysterically through those 2 books. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is better than Sea Monsters. But still, like, the cleverness and the wit,
you
fantastic.
can tell that they're very intimate with like the source
Oh,
material
yes.
and
Yep. Yep.
so funny.
I've been trying to read like international classics, like classics that weren't written by American or British authors. Like I read Cloth Girl that was set in Ghana. That was good. And I will say like anything written in like the classic time period is hard to read sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's like I enjoy reading like international classics more.
Sure.
I think.
Really,
It's
I find
less-
that less pretentious.
It should be more pretentious.
It seems like
I
it should be
think.
more pretentious, but it's such an interesting idea that I
Yeah.
feel.
It's like what
Ah.
Brittany was saying. Like the canon is expanding.
Yes.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, because for such a long time we only acknowledged that there were, old white men who wrote books in Western European countries.
Yes.
And the rest of the world wasn't just sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it turns out they were all really bad people.
Yeah. Most of
It's
them.
really bad.
Another one, I don't know if this is old enough to be considered a classic. An Unnecessary Woman, that's set in Beirut,
Oh,
was
yeah.
really good. That one I loved. And it's full of like other literary references, and it made me like make a list of other
Sure.
books
So
to
cool.
read, which was really cool.
So you're kind of prompted to read this stuff because of the Story Graph reading challenge?
Yeah, they do
That's-
a Read the World challenge every year. And
That's cool.
like I think once a month maybe, you're supposed to read a book from a different country, but I just did them all in the beginning of the year because I was excited.
That's cool.
And it's cool. They do a different set of 12 countries every year.
Cool.
I hate how few of them I've read.
Yeah, I was like, I have never
Yeah.
read anything there. I think Syria. There was something from Syria. I don't remember what. There was something
Interesting.
from Sweden, I think.
Okay.
That was good. Paradise Rot, I think, was Swedish. It was Nordic. Something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
Was that horror?
It's like horror.
There's
like,
lots of like horror type stuff
I
that
love
comes
Swedish
out of
horror.
those countries.
Oh, I know.
They're
We got nothing
messed
else.
up. It's too
They
dark
are.
and cold. There's
Yeah.
too much time to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, pretentious.
Pretentious.
Avery's favorite book of all time is Count of Monte Cristo.
I don't know how they do it.
I don't
I don't
either.
know. But I hear that on Reddit all the time. It's like, even if you hate classics, read this one.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's like, I'm good.
Yeah, too much.
No, I'm not. Yeah. Won't be doing that. I
And
think
Coulter's new one just came out. Don't have time. Sorry. We can cut that up.
Oh boy.
it's killed my vibe.
Understandably so. What were we saying, Brittany? Sorry.
I think the book club, one of our book clubs read that either last year or the year before. And I
Yes.
remember one of my dearly beloved book club members came in my office and asked if I thought it was cheating if she watched the Jim Caviezel film. And I said, absolutely not. Go
It's
ahead.
It's like supplementary material.
It is.
Yeah, it's not cheating.
You're there to discuss the story, not the process.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's
for sure.
fine. It's fine. It's basically the same thing.
I think the year after, it wasn't Little Women. They read another classic. It was Jane Eyre.
I love Little
Oh,
Women.
Yeah.
I don't like Jane Eyre.
I
haven't
love
read
Little
Jane Eyre.
Women.
I like Little Women. I don't
Yeah.
like Jane Eyre.
Never tried. And nobody else in the book club had tried it either. And they're like, well, we don't have time to read this book.
Jane Eyre is not only is it a little bit longer than some of the other classics, but it's really weighty. Like
Yeah.
it's yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. I find like, especially with classics, page count is like deceptive.
It is.
Sometimes
Yes.
like a book will look
It-
huge and then it'll go so fast or it'll be tiny and I'm like, this is taking me a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crying of Lot 49 was only, 120 pages?
It's
Still
only
reading
like
it.
yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Can't do it.
Oh.
None of the words go together.
No, that's
Oh no.
exactly.
What is
Sounds
going
like a
on?
problem.
It is.
Yeah.
So pretentious.
Pretentious.
Is that your final answer too, Brittany?
yes.
Okay.
Okay. I agree with that. Bustle says, you were the kid in high school who actually read all of the mandatory books and enjoyed them. You prefer getting to know one person deeply rather than knowing a couple people on the surface. You tend to cherish the simplicities in everyday life more than anything else.
No.
Disagree.
I don't see that.
I also kind of disagree.
Yeah, I don't know
Because
where
I
they're getting
find that
that.
the classics readers are the ones that sit in their castles surrounded
Yeah.
by suits of armor.
Yeah, like I don't know.
There's no
Nothing simplistic about that.
No.
Yeah. The like reading the high school books and liking them seems accurate.
That
Since a
does.
lot of classics.
Yeah.
Tale of Two Cities
Yeah.
is good. I like
Sure.
that one.
Yeah. But I've had a few friends that like were insecure with their reading habits, and they'd be like, "Oh, you don't read the classics?
Yes.
You dumb."
If you only read the classics, you might be insecure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you pretend to have only read the classics, then you're definitely
Yeah,
insecure.
nothing wrong if you really enjoy them.
No.
But if it's like a status appearance thing,
No.
yeah. Thrift Book said, you're one of the few people who completed the assigned reading in high school and enjoyed it. You've been described as being mature beyond your years, and you enjoy spouting all the literary Easter eggs hidden in current pop culture. That's interesting. I feel like that could be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing references. Yeah.
You know how to tell if they're mature? They'll tell you immediately.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. It is interesting, like, you'll see patterns and references more if you read more classics.
Certainly. And like if you love that's amazing. Like
It's cool.
It's great when people read the classics and love them.
Yeah.
Jealous.
Yeah.
I feel like that's part of the world history that I'm just missing. So
Yeah.
I just didn't want to dive into like let's trash these nerds. That's the antithesis of what the podcast is supposed to be
I
about.
think we made that clear. Well, there's like classics that we like too. Just
Yeah,
none of
for
us are
sure.
like,
Again, it's about perspective and mindset.
yeah,
Yep,
totally.
100%.
And Michelle is reading all the classics this year that we have in our library, which is so impressive. And I don't know how she's doing
I
it.
don't
I
either.
don't either.
I don't know how far
Some-
she's gotten.
We should check on her.
Next is mystery/thrillers, which are a little different to me. I'm surprised that they both
They
They
get
are.
lumped together a
Yeah.
lot, but they are very different, I would say.
Yeah.
Most mysteries don't feel like thrillers to me, so I was
I
surprised.
put like thriller and,
And
horror
horror.
closer
Yeah.
together.
Sure.
I think that is a finer line there.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like they're more adventurous.
I can see that. Wanting to live vicariously.
I was just going to say armchair readers.
Yeah.
I mean, yes,
Yes.
we're all armchair readers, but like the armchair traveler, they're
Right.
Yeah.
armchair adventurers.
Yeah. It's like more interactive and just using a different part of your brain when you're reading a mystery.
Yeah, it's more active.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bustle says you're exceptionally talented at picking up on foreshadowing and clues, so your friends tend to stay away from you when Game of Thrones is on to avoid spoilers. You look at life as a mystery itself and are always searching for the bigger meaning in things. You're a little quieter than the rest, but that's only because you genuinely enjoy being a mystery yourself.
Oh,
I think mystery is such a giant genre.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's hard to pin.
It's
Yeah.
not super niche.
Yeah. Thrift Book said, you're dead fascinated by the dark underbelly of civilization.
That sounds right.
that's maybe true.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're an adrenaline junkie who loves roller coasters and all of the unexpected twists in life. You're an attentive listener, always taking in more than you give away. You nurse a not-so-secret fantasy about taking up work as a private detective, and you're generally pretty good at guessing a surprise ending well in advance.
That is 100% true.
I was going to say, so far I've been like
That's pretty much
Yep.
what we said.
with thrift books.
Yeah. Which I love thrift books, so
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Science fiction.
Nerd. In a good way.
Yeah. Nerd, like deep things.
I want to say
Yes.
really
nerd,
complicated.
nerd, but also closed-minded and judgmental.
Yeah.
It could go either. You're either extremely
Yeah.
open-minded or
Yeah.
extremely close-minded. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
Especially if you're like exclusively like a sci-fi reader.
right.
It's like people lump sci-fi and fantasy into
Yeah,
well, they're
absolutely.
two
Again,
totally different
very
places.
different.
Very
Yeah.
different. Every time, I think I said this before. Every time I read sci-fi, I'm like, why is this not fantasy? Why isn't there magic?
Right.
Why is, I don't want it to. I don't care how it works.
Where's the wizard?
Yeah. I don't. Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement there.
Yeah. Thrift Books did sci-fi and fantasy together, so I'll read theirs after we do fantasy. But Bustle for science fiction said, you love reading about intergalactic adventures and futuristic events that could one day happen. When you were a kid, you didn't always fit in because you were thinking about new worlds and characters bigger than the boring middle school you were stuck in. You often have really great ideas, but are sometimes afraid to speak up. With your smart wits, you and everyone around you knows you'd be the one to live through any apocalyptic event.
I see in my head that's what sci-fi should be.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
But I
that
don't know if it
sounds
always is.
exactly like what I want sci-fi to be.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, like space pirates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Space Pirates. That sounds wonderful.
just the anxiety of it and all of that, yeah, should be adventurous unless, I don't know, people pretentious as well.
Pedantic and
Yeah.
What about
To be
fan-
fair, I haven't read that much sci-fi, so I can't speak on
Me
it.
neither, because
But-
I don't usually enjoy it as much.
Same.
What about fantasy?
Person I could hang out with.
Yeah. An escapist, maybe?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a great
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
Also a little bit more laid back.
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
I feel like they're usually pretty, like, friendly, people-oriented.
Yeah.
Because I think fantasy has a lot of really good character building, usually,
Sure.
to me. Unless it's just,
Yeah.
like, fully world building and the characters don't matter, but...
Yeah, definitely. Maybe more creative.
Yeah, I can see that. There's a lot of people who do, like, D&D, I feel like, are fantasy readers.
Yeah.
Fantasy to me, like the word that comes to mind when I think of that is color,
Yeah.
and in all of its forms, like
Yeah.
colorful characters, colorful worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, just everything is
Yeah.
exaggerated.
Yeah.
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 Exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it's bleak, it's
Right.
still, like,
Right.
The best.
orange.
Grim dark.
Yeah. Bustle said, ever since you were a child, you've been more interested in mythology than anything else. You're a daydreamer and often zone out while at school or work thinking of the next great adventure you'll go on. When it comes to your friends, you've got some of the best, and you'll never treat them wrong, because you know how valuable true friendship is after reading The Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. People-oriented. Yeah,
I feel like that's pretty spot on.
I think so.
Sure.
More so than the other bungle ones.
Yeah.
Right.
Bungle.
Because that's what they've done so far.
Yeah, I agree. The Thrift Books has been more accurate.
Yeah.
For sci-fi and fantasy, Thrift Books said you may often feel that you're the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think fantasy people can be, and sci-fi people can be kind of elitist,
Yeah,
possibly.
for sure.
Yeah.
Your mind is both logical and expansive. You're a dreamy adventurer and spent much of your childhood lost in worlds of your own creation. You've been known to dabble in a bit of cosplay, and you've never met a role-playing game you didn't like.
Oh,
Huh.
I don't know if I agree with that because they're very critical of different games that they are not a fan of.
There's just so
I-
many role-playing games.
I
True.
wish that I was not too old to learn how to do role-playing
Oh, you're
games.
not. You're
Yes,
definitely
I am.
not.
No way.
I totally
No.
am.
No.
Like, I
it's
would
just talking.
I mean, I get it, but like, I would love to at some point in time have been part of like a D&D community or something
Yeah.
like that.
Sure.
And like, I see people play Magic the Gathering, and it looks super fun to me.
It does,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And now there's I'm gonna out myself. There's like a Disney version of
Oh,
Magic
cool.
the Gathering called Lorcan, which I would love to play because it's like
Yeah.
all of the characters. But like, I'm too old and don't have time.
Oh my god.
Oh.
See, not having time, sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
But like, I feel like you'd be
But
surprised that
see,
like,
and that's
Yeah.
like one of the things that I have wanted so much at the library to do is get like an adult gaming community.
be super cool.
Yeah.
And we just can't get it off the ground.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Had a couple of like decent groups over the years, and then one thing or another happens. COVID
Yeah.
Yeah.
just falls apart.
Adults are busy.
Yeah. I've always wanted to join like a D&D group too.
But like where are the nerd grown-ups like us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
All
of-
wanting someone else to start a group.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like some of my friends have a D&D group, but I'm not invited because it's so
Aw.
established.
You're right.
Yeah.
They're like, we know
Yeah.
you're not going to take
You're
it
not
seriously.
You're not in the party.
You're not
yeah,
in the party.
Exactly.
You got it. Like one shots are a thing too. I've
We
done
don't-
one shots. That's fun.
sounds
Then you
fun.
don't have to get like a schedule. You can just be like, okay, this is the adventure we're doing today,
Sure.
and then next time we're all free, we'll do a new adventure.
That
Yeah.
sounds good.
And you can use the
Less
same
commitment.
character or a new character.
Yeah. Just sounds really fun. Always
Yeah.
Sounds
has.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But someday.
Someday. Historical fiction.
Oy.
Elderly.
Yeah, but also
because
yeah.
it's about your childhood.
yeah. I was gonna say like stuck in the past.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that.
Oh, it's the,
There are a
Kinda
few
fair,
historical
though.
fictions that I enjoy.
Sure.
There's one author, Tia Cooper, that I enjoy. That they're fiction and they're written in historical time periods, but they have nothing to do with like the world wars or anything like that.
Okay. Interesting.
I have no interest in those types of books at all whatsoever.
Yeah. If it's like historical fiction in a time period that I don't know that much about, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I also like fantasy that's set like in a like that's kind of historical fiction. Like I've been reading, like it was Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, so I read a bunch of like fiction by Asian American authors, and a lot of it was like fantasy historical fiction. That was really
That's so
cool.
cool.
That would be
Yeah,
cool.
because
Really
I don't know
interesting
anything about
idea.
history, so I was like, oh, I'm learning.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
There
cool.
is a Hawaiian author. Her name is Heidi Heilig, and she has a duology that is set in Hawaii in the past, but it's
That
fantasy.
sounds really cool.
That sounds
And
cool.
you would probably like them.
I'm
The
sure.
Girl from Everywhere and The Map to Nowhere or something like
Okay.
that. But those, I loved
Yeah.
those books. It was the same type of thing, historical fiction with fantasy, and they were a lot of fun.
I like it when fantasy is like kind of grounded a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's fascinating. I read some like alternative history before. I don't know,
Ooh.
like
Interesting.
there's one that was
So
about
sorry,
like
are we talking about Rush Revere?
yes, I am.
Yep, you got him. We're talking around it.
That's all I've talked about this whole time.
No.
There's I can't remember. It was like We the Dead or something, and it was about the Titanic like not sinking, but then like terrible things like started happening to every person on the crew.
There's a supernatural episode.
There
Oh,
is.
gee.
Yeah. It's good. There is.
I bet. Like when your show is 10,000 episodes, you're going to cover a lot of stuff.
There's a Doctor Who episode about the Titanic in space as
Oh,
well.
in space?
amazing.
Called Ship of the
Oh
Damned.
my gosh.
There's a Futurama about the Titanic in space.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Yeah, Titanic is. Don't want to say overdone.
It's stuck in our
still-
minds.
Yeah.
Still very fascinating.
It
Yeah.
is.
My oldest is really getting into the Titanic now, so we're reading a bunch of like juvenile nonfiction.
It's awesome.
It's like I've learned so much about the Titanic.
yeah.
Like it's going to be gone in a decade.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, that's
actually
insane.
gone.
Yeah.
I thought you meant from your mind, but like
No,
physically.
not,
yeah.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's. I feel like because it was a catastrophe that some of the narrative has been that it was very avoidable. It's very fascinating to us, but like it's cool that there's like the information is evolving all the time. Like maybe it wasn't as avoidable as we thought.
Right.
Like,
It's crazy.
yeah.
And it was a tragedy that leveled the playing field.
Yeah. Very
Like
much.
it didn't just happen to one particular group of people, but it I mean, it was did not discriminate.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. The people putting people into lifeboats did. But
was
still
Right.
a lot of rich people
Right.
were killed.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
terrible.
I can't imagine just like being alive at that period and just like reading that like in a newspaper.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
And knowing
insane.
like that maybe you had family on the ship, but not knowing who
Right.
survived.
Yeah.
It'd be terrible.
Bad.
I was obsessed with it probably when I was around Jonah's age, and I would have like recurring nightmares of being in like the lower decks that they just locked, and then you
Yeah,
just had to
yep.
sit.
Yep.
Oh.
Like that's a worst nightmare kind of situation.
Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
just horrific.
Yeah.
Good book though.
Good book. The title.
The We the Dead or whatever.
Oh,
it's called.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I
From the
forgot.
fiction.
Yes. Yeah. So historical fiction. Bustle says, you love fiction, but you also love fact. You like knowing what's going to happen and aren't a big fan of surprises. You have a very detailed planner on you, which is Michelle likes historical fiction.
Yeah.
That sounds like
She has
Michelle.
spreadsheets for Mario. Which is true.
So funny. Every so often aren't afraid to indulge in a few spontaneous activities. This says you have a shape eye for detail. Sharp. It's got to be sharp.
Yeah.
I
gotta
copy
be, yeah.
pasted it. It's not my fault.
No.
You have a sharp eye for detail and are sometimes, more like all the time, called a perfectionist in your work. You're a people watcher and enjoy listening to your friends and family tell you stories of their past.
I feel like some of that could be a reach and some of it could just apply to anybody, but you kind of have to get creative with something that broad,
Sure.
maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't
Oh, yeah.
disagree.
I mean, this is like a literary
Well,
zodiac.
I was
Like,
going
it
to
doesn't
say,
really-
Totally
we've
fair.
talked about that before, how there are subgenres within historical
Everything,
fiction.
Yeah. Every single genre.
Yeah. Thrift Book says you draw perspective and wisdom from the lessons of the past. You like having a sense of where the story is going, and you can't resist a sweeping epic. Museums are places of comfort, and you're pretty sure you've lived a few past lives in your favorite eras. You have a sharp eye for detail, and some people might even call you a perfectionist. Very similar.
Yeah. I feel like thrift books still
I
wins
100%.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're more concise, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
I
they
like
spelled
that.
sharp
right.
correctly.
Yeah. I'm not shocked that Bustle had an error. Yeah. Got a few more. Next is horror.
Yikes.
Yeah. Long hair T-shirt.
Long t-shirt. Is that you? You have longish hair.
I guess.
You like horror.
I do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think.
A lot of horror readers are just like the most normal people.
Yeah. I think
It's because they take out all of their, like, the book has all of their aggression in
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why like metalheads are like some of the friendliest
It's
people
like
ever.
the
Yeah.
true
Yeah.
they're
true
not
crime
adjusted. Well adjusted. Yeah.
true crime podcast listeners.
Yeah. They're just
Exactly.
scared.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of them.
I'm gonna figure out what to avoid.
Yeah. I think kind of like fantasy too. There's a lot of escapism, maybe.
Yeah.
It's just a different kind of escapism.
Right.
Yes. Just
Yeah.
like I like the feeling of being scared.
See,
In
I
a
can't
safe
do
way.
that.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy it.
That's fair.
Like I have started like in the last year or so. I have read a couple of more thriller type. But like I know that's my limit.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
that's all
It's
I can
not
do.
for you. That's
Totally
okay.
get it.
Yeah.
Like I don't struggle with books or movies that much, but scary video games, no. I turn into
don't
a
feel
different
safe.
person.
Really?
You're in part of it.
Interesting.
Yeah. The scariest thing that ever happened to me was when I was playing a video game. I've had a very good life. It's called
You almost got kidnapped like 8 times when you were a kid.
the operative term
You
there
got
is almost.
shot in the temple when your friends thought you were dying, like
With
by
a
a paintball gun.
paintball.
But you still.
My friend kicked a railroad spike into my eye when I was 7 and
You
I
should
was in
never-
the hospital.
all of that is like could have killed you.
Could have.
Yeah.
So anyway, Alien Isolation.
Okay.
Like the AI for the xenomorph because it's like tracking
yeah,
you through
yeah.
the ship,
Okay.
and sometimes you can just hear like rumbling in the vents, and it's not just like
I would not like that.
it doesn't do it just for like aesthetic purposes. That means it's actually in the vents, and so
makes-
you have to like hide in a locker.
Oh.
And, like,
so
it's
then
hunting.
also claustrophobia.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And then like you can see it like slowly going by, and it's like checking other lockers, and it's not scripted. Like it's trying to find you.
That's scary.
Great game. Played maybe 2 hours. I'll never go back.
Yeah.
So
Not a horror game, but similar, Subnautica. When the
Yes.
like big scary monster fish are near, you can
yeah.
hear them like calling out, like,
yeah.
and that is terrifying.
Also got was it trypophobia?
No,
Trypophobia.
doesn't start with a T. There's submechanophobia, which is like you're afraid of human-made things underwater, and then what? Thalassophobia. It does start with a T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's that picture of that just like school chair like at the bottom of. like,
yeah.
Yeah, I do find
that.
that unnerving, like
Yeah.
abandoned things underwater.
Yeah.
Wait till they find Atlantis.
Yeah, that's gonna be real scary. Yeah, that was just scary. So a game where you have to be underwater almost
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, it's my nightmare.
Yeah, yeah. You
Can't
die.
swim. Yeah.
No. Bustle. The rest of these, there's only Bustle. Thrift Book didn't do.
Oh, boo.
Or Thrift Book.
Seriously.
Okay, Thrift Books did romance. That's the
Okay.
last one I have. Okay. Horror. You aren't scared easily, and the feeling of adrenaline rising in you is almost addicting. You're the risk taker in your friend group, and when you go to an amusement park, you're the first one in line for the wildest rides. You're one heck of a storyteller, and your friends know that when you pull out the flashlight at a bonfire, they're in for a story that'll haunt them for the rest of the week.
Now, see, I don't mind
disagree.
haunting stories.
Okay.
It's the slasher stories that I don't like.
Oh, that's fair.
They're two very different
Yeah.
types of horror.
Yeah, very visceral and like brutal and gross.
Yeah,
Did you say you agree or disagree?
I disagree.
I disagree.
I
hard.
Like
disagree, too.
strongly. I think people go to horror books because they don't want scary things in real life.
And
Yeah.
also, I love amusement parks.
And I hate.
Yeah, I'm afraid of roller
coasters.
coasters.
Yeah, I
I
don't want
read horror
anything that
books.
is actually happening to me.
Yeah. See, so
Yeah.
it's the exact opposite.
Opposite
Yeah.
of what
You're
they
getting
said.
you're getting like
Yeah.
the same like adrenaline
Sure.
from doing real stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't want anything real at all.
It's same.
Too scary.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, literary fiction. Also pretentious.
I was gonna say, ugh.
Like
We get it.
insufferable to
Yeah,
hear.
I would say insufferable.
Assigned reading.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
MFA
Similar
student.
to classics.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of overlap.
It's like I don't care what David Foster Wallace said about John McCain.
Like I actually don't want to know.
he wrote an essay. I think it was called "The Big Red Sun." That was about John McCain. It was like 85 pages. Really interesting.
Oh, okay. So you
Actually
picked
liked
the
his-
one example that
Yep.
you did want.
It's the one that came out of my mind, but I actually like his essays way more than his fiction.
I've only read essays. I don't think I've read any of his fiction. They were. I don't remember them well.
Sure,
Yeah.
they're fine. Yeah, insufferable.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Bustle says you prefer reading about common life problems and troubles that are relatable to just about everyone. You love to learn about people, and the ones you don't, you find yourself making up their life stories as you pass them by on the streets or on your morning commute. You're a deep thinker, and when it comes to problem solving, you're probably a pro. You like to look at your life as if it were a movie, and we're always wondering what the next complicated situation will unfold.
I don't think that that's right.
I don't think so.
I'm not
No.
sure Bustle knows what
That
literary
is not.
fiction
I
don't
was
think
just going to
so.
say the same thing. That
Yeah.
is not like
No.
literary fiction. There's nothing every day about literary fiction.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No.
So usually, like the people are usually miserable. They're talking about like the doldrums of the day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Usually, drinking problem. If I know MFA kids well enough.
Yeah. And just they have
Miserable.
pretentious problems.
Yes, not like real problems that
Right.
most people have to
Right.
deal
The
with.
only thing they hate more than themselves is your reading habits.
I have not
sums it
picked up a book that can be described as literary fiction since I finished my MA program because I hated them. So
Oh, wow.
the book, like I don't know what book's my favorite. I know what book I've read that is my absolute least favorite
Oh.
book on this planet. I had to read for my MA program, and it was a literary fiction book. And like, why do people write books like
Oh,
this?
you got to say the name.
Vernon Godlittle.
I don't think I've heard of it.
It is
I don't know
about
if I have either.
a family in, I think it was Central Texas, and it was just dreadful. It's like it took every Southern cliche
Oh,
from the South and gave it to this family in Texas. It's
That doesn't
terrible.
make a lot of sense.
Terrible.
Texas is
And I know you're going to read it now.
I am so curious.
It's just,
Cool. Do you know that Sean Penn wrote a piece of literary fiction and it's panned as like the worst novel of all
I think
time?
we've talked about this
so.
before.
That makes sense.
I'll never not pass up a reson to say the name though. Bob Honey Who Just
Yep.
Do Stuff.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I think you've
Yep.
said that before.
We have.
That's
Yep.
hilarious. That's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disagree.
Yeah, I don't think that's
Yeah,
accurate.
Also disagree.
I've read books that I've enjoyed that were tagged as literary fiction, but then I'm like, I don't know if this is literary fiction.
So
Yeah.
I would the one that comes to mind that I'm going to say because it's like people would know it is like Atonement by Ian McEwan.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is what I would consider literary fiction.
Sure.
Like it's got a film, not that that's but
yeah.
like it
Yeah.
had a little bit of mainstream popularity as well. But it actually had a plot. Brideshead Revisited by Evil and Woe. I would call that literary fiction.
Sure. I call The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like
Yes.
that.
I read The Pigeon by Patrick Suskind. I think it was French or German originally, but that was tagged as literary fiction, but it was like so short and easy to read that I was like, it can't be.
Can't be.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it was very like sad man goes to work. But I liked it a lot,
Yeah.
and there's a pigeon there. I made my dad read it, and he was like, "Why? What is it?" I was like, "I don't know, but I had a good time. Well, not a good time, but
Did he read it?
yeah, he read it. It was
Yeah.
super short.
Okay.
It was like 100 pages.
Did he like it?
No, I think he just didn't know what was like why.
Oh, okay.
Like nothing happened.
That sounds good, actually.
I liked
really.
it a lot. Maybe I just like short literary fiction.
No.
Maybe.
Just get to the point. Like there wasn't one. The point was like that. Like there's not a like nothing. Like this man just had a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're saying. Like, the day-to-day is just
Yeah.
nothing
Right.
special.
So not really literary, but like that's what it was tagged as. So I don't know.
Interesting.
yeah.
I don't know. Nonfiction.
Yeah. But I've been reading way less nonfiction.
Oh, that's good.
Because maybe, I don't know, a lot of it's just too much.
Yeah.
What
Either
am I
like
getting out of it?
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
They're like too like very pretentious and in their own head, or just like very curious people. Mm-hmm. Depends on the nonfiction. Like that's so broad.
I don't, yeah,
It
I was going
really
to say, I
is
don't really
very
like
broad.
just, it'd be like having
Yeah.
fiction on.
Well,
Yes, it
right.
would be,
Like,
yeah.
there's nonfiction self-help, which I was like, blah.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Right. Nonfiction diet books, also
Oh,
blah.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like actively
true crime.
harmful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, true
I
crime
like
can be
nonfiction
interesting.
adventure stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, wild poles in between.
Yeah, for sure.
So-
But I've been like way more into like the Eric Larson
Yeah,
style, like
yeah.
Yes.
really niche parts of history that
Niche
are well
history
told.
is
Yeah.
my favorite.
Yeah, same.
Eric Larson, Mary Roach.
Yes, it was so good.
I read Hawaii's Story by Hawaii's Queen recently by Queen Liliuokalani. That was hard to read.
You said it was
Yeah,
hard
it
when
was-
you were reading it.
It's very Victorian. Like she wrote it in like 1898 maybe. But it was it's worth reading kind of to get like her perspective of what was going on, but also very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of like very, very specific history where it's like we're talking about 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So undefined.
So, yeah, we don't know. Bustle says, you're a great listener and enjoy getting to know someone by their odd quirks and anecdotes. You're often looking for new ways to improve yourself and the lives around you. You love making big gestures because you desire to live a great life worth telling someday.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
this is history then.
Yeah, it's although the like new ways to improve yourself
Yeah.
could be self-help. I don't
True.
know. It's hard to say if that's wrong or right
Yeah.
because it's very
Interesting.
vague. Nonfiction is vague. Okay, we got 2 left.
Yay.
Young adult.
Yay.
Yay. You could be a child.
Yeah.
You could. I had actually had in my notes for today that young adult books are ones that people are made to feel guilty about reading
Same.
if they're adults.
Yeah, well, for
that
sure.
was in my notes
And
too.
that they shouldn't, because young adult books contain real life things, but without all of the horror of being an adult.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
So-
like it's not like tone or it's not like watered down. It might just be like the perspective is
Sure.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's from a kid perspective or a teen perspective.
And I feel like if you're going through the reading doorways, a lot of them focus more on character
Yes.
than anything
Definitely.
else. Because it's like coming of age. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And I like that, like really getting
Yeah.
in a character's head.
for sure.
Yeah.
And the people that judge others for reading YA couldn't name a YA book to
Right.
Seriously.
save their lives.
And there's some really good like the Cinder series. Like that's
Sure.
so like sweeping and like huge
Oh, it
scale
is.
and
Yeah.
like such good characters.
And you can find all the genres
yeah.
within YA.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
You-
the Book Thief is
Yeah.
hugely
Yeah.
popular. Like,
Yeah. We've got a copy in our adult section because it's so popular.
Right.
I think we have
Yeah.
maybe
There's
a
one
large
in, There's
print.
one in each. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got it, it's checked out. I had it on display and it was checked out like the next day.
Oh.
Yep,
I'm like,
I checked it out to somebody.
oh, did you? Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. They should have taken the movie too.
Shut up.
Yeah. Bustle says you're young at heart, and that only makes you more curious and willing to learn new things in life. You're in tune with your emotions and are almost always the one your friends go to when they need solid advice. More than anything, you're independent and take pride in both your successes and failures. You know it's all part of the process.
I feel like
That might
possible-
actually be okay.
I think
Yeah.
that's fair. If you're an
Yeah.
adult reader,
Same.
it
Yeah.
like does
Same.
mean that you're more open-minded. I
Yeah.
think.
I feel
in
like it
general.
needs to stop trying to get too specific. Like,
Yeah, literary zodiac. Be vague.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, for sure. I did agree with a lot of that, but
Yeah.
just kept going.
Maybe not the one that everyone comes to for advice.
Yeah, I don't know about
it's
that.
too specific.
Yeah. Next and last is romance.
No, just because I don't.
You don't want to go
Nothing-
to like a stereotype.
It's just nothing specific is
That's
popping
fair.
into mind because like a lot of that is like considered guilty reads. And
I would
people
say
that-
lighthearted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say light.
There's not a lot of romance that has really high stakes.
Yeah,
I did read one where they were stranded on an island that a volcano and a tsunami had just happened.
Oh,
It was
hey.
very fun. I can't remember what it's called, but it was good.
I just read one. It's called Raiders of the Lost Heart.
That was really good.
And they're archaeologists, and it's obviously a play on the Indiana
Yeah.
Jones title, but that one was a lot of fun, and there is a bad guy in that one.
Oh.
But
I do love how books like that just they know what they are. They're not taking themselves too seriously.
Yeah,
They're
I
just
think that's-
supposed to be
yeah.
fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
Romance readers don't take themselves seriously.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
a good thing.
And they'll be the first to admit, like, yeah, this book doesn't have a ton of substance, but it's enjoyable.
But
Yeah,
some
and
of them do, too.
yeah.
True. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like genre crossover too.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bustle said you're a you're a passionate person at heart and always go the extra mile to satisfy someone you love. You always manage to keep a positive outlook on life, even if you've hit rock bottom. You have high expectations when you go out on dates, but you're also pretty talented at wooing just about anyone that glances in your direction.
That's an over.
Yeah, I don't
simplification.
agree with the second
Yeah.
half.
Anybody who reads romance.
This is
Right
like
at romance.
Yeah.
Like
this
I
is like
strongly
20, this
disagree.
is like the 27 dresses version.
Oh my god. Oh, yes, it is. Seen that too many times.
Yeah, like I think it might be the opposite.
Yeah.
If you really like romance, you might not.
There's
do
a
so
reason
Sure.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe.
it's a fantasy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Could see that. It tries to go on the very like optimistic, like idealistic version of
Yeah.
things.
And the other parts of it, I agree. Like it's kind of what we said. Like they're having a positive outlook and yeah, taking things not so seriously.
Yeah.
And Thrift Book says you love love.
Perfect.
Yeah, even if you've suffered your fair share of heartbreaks, you still believe that happily ever after is possible, and not just for you, but for everyone. You may even keep a collection of heart-shaped rocks. I know someone who does that.
Yeah.
You're the matchmaker of your social circle, and your friends come to you when they have relationship dilemmas. Everyone knows you'll help them feel the love again.
Because you've done the research.
Exactly. Yep.
Yes.
Once again, thrift books.
Yeah,
Thrift
for the
books,
win.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that was super fun.
It was
Yeah, I think
fun.
it was fun.
I'm gonna go read now.
Are
Thanks,
you?
guys.
Are you not going to go back to work?
Like I'm quitting time.
Oh my
is
goodness.
girlfriend.
Whoa, that went so fast.
It
Oh,
is.
sure did.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
That was fun.
Great. We're gonna have fun next episode too. So we're
are.
gonna be talking about alternative media.
We are.
are.
Yeah.
A lot to
definitely.
cover. A lot of graphic novel talk.
Yeah.
Yay.
Probably. Goodbye, everyone. Oh, go ahead, Chloe.
I just said probably. I just
Okay.
repeated what you guys said.
All right. Glad I stopped saying goodbye for that.
If you are listening to this, give us a like or a rating on whatever platform you use because
Yeah.
it helps us get a little bit more visibility.
Yep.
And if you have any suggestions for episodes or things you'd like to hear us talk about, let us know.
Yeah. Or comment on what we talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
What's your favorite guilty pleasure?
Yeah.
Let's find out. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.